Well, hello, everybody. It's Dr. Hank. Welcome. This is really under the umbrella. This is applicable to anyone. We're going to discuss talents, and I have the world's most statistically accurate and valid diagnostic tool to measure your 67 talents. And probably you didn't know you had 67 talents of mankind. And so the particular one that we are doing right now is a sales one, but just know we also have a general one if you're not in sales. That typically I help real estate agents and brokers to increase their business and wealth. But again, this can be applicable to anybody, and it's just some great information. And today we're going to review this. And the reason why this is so important is for you is that it's going to help you better understand yourself and help you to understand like other people's talents as well. And it'll help you not to judge other people, if you will, because some of us have good talents. Some of us, are strong in our talents, some in areas and some not. And so what I'd like you to do is really think about as we go through this, that there are these talents, and you want to focus on your higher talents and leverage your higher talents and be aware of your lower talents, but don't put a big charge into it on, oh, I wish I were better with that. And I can actually help you build every one of the 67 talents. I have a process for every one of those. So if you do have a desire to increase your talents, the good news is you can increase your talents. Now, I measure a lot of things on I'm a mental scientist, a behavioral psychologist, ordained minister, all kinds of stuff. And but I'm also an axologist. And I know you're saying, what is that? And that is actually, I have been trained in axology, is the science of understanding the talents of mankind. And so what's going to happen is you're going to become more successful because of this knowledge, and you're going to be better. This specifically with sales, that you're going to actually see on the talents necessary to be really successful and where you're really good and what you want to leverage. So you're going to love it. Hang on to your seats, and here we go. Okay. And so the first thing is I want to go and share with you the history of where this talent assessment originated from. And there was a man by the name of Dr. Hartman. And Dr. Hartman was a judge, was very famous in his homeland, if you will, in the city he was born in, which I'll tell you later about where that was. And he also was a mathematician, though. And so he was a mathematician, he was an attorney, he was a judge, he was well respected in the community. And he one day came home, and his friend came to visit him. And his friend said, hey, listen, there's this political force that's out there, and the leader of this political organization would like to send a couple of their people to talk to us, Dr. Hartman and his friend, to talk to us later on today. And Dr. Hartman said, I just don't trust this guy, and I'm not in support of him, and that's why they wanted to come and talk to him. And he said, I'm just not in support of him. And so he told his friend, you go meet with them, but I'm not going to. And so Dr. Hartman leaves, and a few hours later, as planned, this politician, kind of his right-hand people, if you will, there's a knock on the door. And so Dr. Hartman's friend opens up the door, and there's a gun, and they shoot him in the head and kill Dr. Hartman's friend. The politician was Hitler.
Oh.
And, yeah. And so, and it was his, what did they call those guys? The right-hand men of Hitler. But anyways, that's who was at the door, the main people. And so they wanted to get rid of Dr. Hartman because he was so well regarded, and he was against the Hitler regime. Well, he fled, and he was in Germany, of course. And so he fled Germany and went to England and eventually went to the United States. And as in his reflection of this experience, he realized he had seen the greatest evil ever in mankind's history. And so he started to read the Bible, and he read in the Bible about mankind's talents. And he said, so he had seen the greatest evil of mankind, and now he wanted to understand the greatest good of mankind, and that is mankind's talents. So he started to look at what are the talents? And, we ask ourselves, what are the talents? And, we don't know what the talents are, what kind of talents. And we can probably say, I'm good at, communicating with people or, whatever. But so what he did is he dedicated the rest of his life, and in fact was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for his work on this, and what a great contribution it was to society. So he was able to identify the talents of mankind, the 67 talents of mankind. And then he said, hey, I'd really like to try to measure these talents. So he used all of his mathematical expertise, and he was able to develop, and it's actually a fairly complex way of how those strange questions you were given two groups to rank them in order. And just so you know, that first group is how you look at the outside world. And the second group of questions that you had to put into order is how you see the inside world. And based on your inside world, and based on that your answer is that mathematically it goes and rates to the 10th of a percent of a point of accuracy on where you are with your talents. And so there are very few people around the world that can administer this, because this is a very delicate instrument that it literally, I was measuring your mental focus, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but it'll actually show you what your mental focus is, and how well you can mentally focus on your outside world, and how well you can mentally focus on your inside world. I will share this with you, that in virtually every case, to include those of you that completed this, that we are typically way more focused on the outside world because we have been taught how to manipulate the outside world, but typically we haven't been taught on how to be able to focus on our inside world. So it's all this stuff out here, and we're trying to manipulate it, when really it's an inside job, and it's the kingdom within us. So it's a very an amazing assessment, and that's why I didn't send this to you until shortly before this assessment, because typically people want to go blow through this and take a look at their talents, and we've actually had some people get really depressed and whatever because some of their talents aren't real high. But once you understand this, you'll understand that all of us have high talents and all of us have not so high talents, and it's okay. It's more of the awareness of where you are. And so, so we take a look at the external world, and that's how you understand others, your practical thinking, as well as your systems judgment. And so that's the outside world in those three categories. And then we look at your internal world, and that's your own sense of self. And so, some of you know that I know how to tap into the subconscious mind, the kingdom within, and to be able to improve our outside world because we improved our inside world. And one of the things I share in that teaching is that your subconscious mind only understands you, that only you're there. So when you say, oh, I don't like that person, it's saying your subconscious mind takes it personally, if you will, and says, oh, I don't like me. And so this sense of self, this is our self-esteem. And typically, we all can improve our sense of self. It also measures in this internal world your role awareness. And again, I know you're thinking like, man, I had no idea I was getting into this. That is a pretty easy assessment. You know, it took 10 minutes, whatever. And but it really just is incredible on what it measures. But it also measures your role awareness and understanding your role in your life, and then also your self-direction. And so we're going to literally look at those 6 areas today. And so I would recommend that you have your assessment out so you can kind of follow along with me. We're going to just do a brief overview. I literally, like, there's one page that I could spend with the dials on, that I could invest hours with you on looking at that, understanding it. But what you're going to get today is you're going to get really the meat of it to understand kind of where it all came from, what it's saying. And then at the end, we're going to share with you your 6 to 7 talents and exactly on how they're measured from the top talents onto the bottom talents. So here we go. Hang on. And I'm going to, again, go through this pretty quickly. This is about a 17-page assessment that we're going to go through. But if you'll go through and kind of page through me that, as we're looking at that it is, this report measures your dimension of thought. Again, remember, I'm a mental scientist, and then I'm also an axologist, which gets into this deeper root of people. And so we look at the intrinsic, and people, extrinsic, which is tasks or things, and then systematic, which is, of course, systems. And again, you'll see that this will all come down to real easy, understandable ways to be able to use this information. Now, this next page on Worldview, it actually shows you what your, and this is a real person here, one of my dear friends and agents, Maria. And this looks at how you view your outside world. So what I would recommend, like, you know, as far as pages to specifically read, that this is a good overview on how you see the outside world. And so, like, Maria understands how to deal with ideas, knowledge, and systems. So the kind of one of the ahas in this is that we are so used to how we think that we kind of think everybody thinks that way. But the fact is, it's not the case, that we all have different talents, and thinking, everything starts with our thoughts, and our thoughts create our talents. And so Maria probably, in talking with her, in fact, she said, you know, oh, I didn't know that I was really good with ideas, knowledge, and systems. You know, she just kind of figured everybody is that way, and it's just kind of the norm. But this will help you to better understand you and your uniqueness and the value and the blessing you are to the world, to your family, and to the world. And then there's the self view. And so this is how you look at yourself. So like Maria defines she in terms of her directions and goals in life. And so that's how she looks. So which means that's important for her, and to make sure that she has, and I don't really even like the word goals because it's kind of over misunderstood, but it's more our desires. And so I like using that word a little bit better than the goals, but to understand your direction and goals. And again, I would read through this and just to have a better understanding of who you are. Now, this is specific to sales. And so even though that when you took it that, you know, and you may not be in sales, actually all of us are in sales, that we all want to share our thoughts, our ideas, and then have people agree, whether it's, you know, buying a widget or whether they're buying my idea that, hey, I love you, that, you know, that I need to, and so that's part of the sales. So here are the critical sales successes and how they and what the talents are. So these are some of the talents, but these are the talents critical for sales. And so I'm going to use Maria's example here so you can understand how to read that. So Maria, under problem solving, so again, these are the critical talents, and then each talent is going to be measured on her versus the base of the population of the world. So, or actually of the United States, we need to do this differently. Like in Europe, there's a little bit different assessment because of their culture and it being different. But in the United States, we have primarily the same culture, and because of that, we have it done for us. So under problem solving with Maria, she scores a 77, okay? Now, if you look at that 75 there, that what that is saying is, and see at the bottom of the page, it says 68% of the population falls within that shaded area. So if you go back up to her problem solving, that there is 68% of the population is, about 62% to about 88%. So that's where most everybody, the majority falls in that red bar. The national mean is a 75 there. So that's where nationally the mean, which means half the people are below that, half the people are above that number. And in this case, the number is 75. She ranks 77. So which means she's pretty talented at it. Now, enjoyment of the job. And so, and again, isn't incredible on, it can actually measure your enjoyment of your job without, meeting you or, whatever. And I didn't play with any of these numbers, by the way. I didn't talk to your relatives or interview your friends or anything, with this. These are your answers. And so enjoyment of the job, that look at that she's at 59. She doesn't like her job much. In fact, I actually helped her to transition out of being a real estate agent. And usually I transfer people into being a real estate agent and they become wildly successful and typically 25 grand or more a month, in commissions. That with her, she just didn't enjoy her job. And so I asked her and gave her some and coached with her and helped her. And now when now she loves her new job, and because she is good at problem solving. It's actually in insurance, and she just it fit her better. So we're not going to go through every one, but just know that critical sales, the talents that are required to be really good at sales. Now, we're not going to all be, so don't get depressed on, oh, I'm not very good. Like, for example, with her, oh, I'm not very good at enjoyment of the job, so I should get out. That typically isn't the case. That normally it is, hey, I don't enjoy the job, so how do I change my attitude towards my current job? So I can help you with that because I'm a mental scientist. So I can help you say things like, hey, I really am enjoying my job, and never say the word work. Replace the name work, and this is for anybody, no matter what you score, with play. And so, hey, I'm just going to play with this, okay? And so if you use that word, that, hey, I'm off today to go play, it changes everything. It changes your attitude, lights you up, on it, etc. So again, I can help you with all of these talents to increase, but that's one good example on, how I can do that. So there's problem solving, enjoyment of the job, problem and goal focus. And so let me just go down here, and results oriented, handling rejection, that's a big one, okay, self-starting ability, handling stress, okay, and I actually just got off the phone with a medical doctor who was, we were talking about different stress, and he's considered an expert on it, and it's funny, he uses the same things that I use spiritually, but just in kind of different words, if you will, to do that. Now, here's a real important point that I want you to look at the bottom left there where it says REV. Okay, and so look at your report too, an REV 9275. What that means is the way, so it's not revised or anything like that, that what it actually is it is measuring your mental focus. The 92, in this example, the 92%, the first number is how mentally focused are you with your outside world. So in this case, Maria is 92% focused. That's really good. If you're in your 90s in your outside world, that's really good. Now, in almost every case, the second number, how you see your inside world, is less. We have a more difficult time focusing into our inside world. Reason why? We were never taught to. Talents are actually developed. And that's why the good news is, like on your behaviors, I really can't change your behaviors per se. Now I can identify your stress and where you're modifying your behavior and you're trying to be somebody else, and I can help you reduce your stress. And I can measure your behaviors, but I can't change those behaviors. Also, how you're motivated can't really change that. That pretty much is how you are, and there's 6 motivators, and I can measure that. And again, we're not going to get into either one of those assessments. I also do emotional intelligence, and I have an assessment to measure your emotional intelligence. But again, we're not going to get into any of that today. But knowing that on that 75% in this example, that's how she sees her inside world. And so mentally focused. So everything that I teach, they don't teach in school. They have been brought up with it typically. And so I really teach the inside world, how to be able to feel good in the inside world and then be able to achieve the things that you desire. And so that is that page. And just so you know now, also, if you're under 70% in either one of these, that it statistically is not accurate. You had an interruption, or you started to daydream about probably something not very good, and so you got off track. So you need to make sure you get over 70%. If you're not, you need to contact me and we can do it. Also, another critical sales is personal drive. And so again, where she is and how we can change that. Now, a sales skill summary. So now what this is this is actually the 6, and I have 2 different ways that I can measure this on your talents as well as your behaviors on the 6 steps to the sales process. And again, remember that really all of us are selling, if you will, and so it can be a helpful perspective for you to understand on what those are and how good you are, because even in a personal relationship, so for example, prospecting is actually looking and attracting people, circumstances, events that you want, but prospecting, greeting, qualifying, demonstrating, influencing, and then closing. And so again, and you can see she's very solid in this, that she's good. Like if you're 50 or higher in that, hey, you're really good. The other thing is a lot of people say, oh, I want to be 100%. Pretty much nobody's 100%. That there are a few exceptions that I've assessed thousands of people actually around the world. And I remember one guy in Canada that was with John Deere, and I was an advisor to the board of John Deere, and I was up there, and that guy had 3 perfect scores, and then he was very, very high in a lot of stuff, but he also was really low in a couple things, and it prevented him from being his greatest possibility. So I helped him to understand what his deficiency was, where he was low, and that helped take him to Mars. In fact, typically what I do is I share with people that on your low talents, I can take you to the moon, I can improve it, that's good, but on your high talents, I can take you to Mars. And so that's even better, if you will. And then your overall quotient that you have. And so then the cool thing is then we look at prospecting. And so if you want to, like, for example, understand, hey, how can I prospect more effectively? What can I leverage here? So for example, Maria here in prospecting, she doesn't have very much role confidence. Okay, one of the reasons why she didn't enjoy her job, but she's good at evaluating others. She probably could be more persistent, and again, you can do that. And she's pretty intuitive. And so for her to just be more consistent, so just this page alone, if she would want to increase her prospecting, that she has that, and again, this role confidence is that it's all a matter of how you think about yourself. And so I actually helped her think about herself in a better way. And so can you, that again, everything is with thoughts to include your talents come from what your thoughts are and how you're thinking about things. So again, we're not going to go through all of this, but there's the greeting and the specifics on the greeting. And you can see she doesn't have a very good attitude towards others. And so I always share, hey, people are, it can be alpha to the omega, that people can be either really, really good or, angelic or not. But it's up to you to make them that way on what your vibration is. In other words, how are you thinking? If you're thinking, oh boy, this person, I don't like them, when you're talking with them, they pick that up. You may be saying, oh, I really love you a lot, but they're in fact picking up that you have that attitude towards them. And all of us have, experienced where, well, that person has an attitude about me, no matter what they say, right? And so that's one thing that, and again, she can change. Attitude is your mindset. And so she can change her attitude towards people and not have prejudices and realize that everybody is made in the image and likeness, of God, and can be divine or not. And so it's up to us to extract that divinity, if you will, in the people. And then qualifying in the different areas of qualifying. Again, she's not very empathetic. Okay, so I helped her with that because these were real, you can see on how they're kind of interrelated here. And she doesn't enjoy the job because she's, doesn't look at people very well, and that she doesn't have too much empathy on them. And so all of these things, again, you can raise. And then demonstrating, and so that's actually showing whatever. And so in today's world with real estate agents, we're virtually doing things way more than we were before. We have virtual open houses, and I'll show you all that, how to do it. I have a brand new 3D technology now. That we'll be sharing in the next couple of weeks in our mastermind meeting on Tuesdays, and so and we have procedures. We have the 10-step procedure to motivate buyers and for their safety and everything, as well as sellers for them to actually list it, have people walk through it with open doors and all the lights on, so they don't touch anything. We got it all down for you, and you can be able to do it. But and so that's problem solving. The other good thing is when you're with us as a team and all together and helping us real estate professionals, just us people helping each other, that like your problem solving, that I typically solve many problems for all my real estate agents, or really anybody. I typically work from kids to adults on whatever issues that they are having. Of course, one of our strategies too is first responders, and so I talk again. I do live talk now with these guys. Just started last Friday, and then and this Friday, and then next week I think 3 times doing live. But first responders are just great. You want to help them because they help us, but we help them with the American dream. And when they retire, we give them their career in real estate. And when they're looking to right size their house, buy or sell their home, we do that. And of course, they're really good because they kept their job, right? And they got money, and they typically have good credit. So it's a whole one of the many strategies that we have to build business, and why we can build people's business so effectively. And then influence. And so how well are you at influencing? And again, now what you want to do is understand, hey, where am I good? If I'm not very good at influencing, that hey, it's not a big deal. You can improve these different areas of influencing, and this helps you to understand how to do that. And I literally have scripts on how to be able to talk to people and show that how to really connect with people in a very authentic way, and at the same time to show your expertise. And then closing and your own self-confidence on where you are, that she, like in this one, she has good mental control, and she's in the red bar. She's good, and so this would be regarded for her. And again, all of us are in those steps, whether we have a position called that or not. Now the next graph is literally a graph that I could invest hours with. This is, and where I really on a lot of understanding is with these different dials, and you can see there's a little, it's showing where you overvalue something, etc. So like in this case that it's on the negative side, and so she's undervaluing, and and with her empathetic, she has a bias going down. And again, there's a lot to recognize, but we're going to take it easy, and instead of getting into all of that detail. And again, I could literally spend hours on those dials and the meeting. But the good news is that we can just look at this graph and get a really good idea on, hey, where are we with the 6 different areas, looking at our outside world. Okay, so look at her empathetic. She's near the bottom there of that green line is, again, most of the population. The red is the red dot, is star is the national mean. And you can see that, hey, she's not real empathetic, okay? But she's good at practical thinking. She's really good at practical thinking. So she can be a practical thinker. And so, if it doesn't deal, one of the reasons why she, again, got on this insurance thing is she could just talk to a lot of people and practically say, hey, this is why you need it. She believed in it and increased her confidence. And at the same time, though, that her husband is in real estate, and so they kind of are exchanging referrals and whatever with that. And then you'd see her systems is really high too. So take a look at yours, and just this helps you to kind of look at, we looked at detailed specific talents and what talents are required to excel in sales. And again, all of us are in that one way or another. And then specifically on how to, what each one of those are and the talents. And then this is a broader view on taking a look at it. Now, look at her self-view. Now, one thing we know is, remember, she scored fairly low as far as her mental focus was, what, 72%? So she was just barely over the line to make it statistically accurate. But what that tells me is that she's actually a little bit more talented in these 3 areas. She just isn't mentally focused, but is accurate enough to know where she is. So her self-view on me, remember that self-confidence that she had? Well, there you go. Her sense of self is, really below where most people are. She just doesn't have a lot of confidence in herself and her self-esteem. And again, I can help you with that. And then her role, that she just couldn't relate to her role. And her role awareness on where she was, and then her self-direction, that she's pretty good, but if she could increase her self-esteem, that if she could increase her role awareness, and again, that's where we found her a different role. But most people that are stay in that role, but we just increase it. Just for her, you can see how low she was in that. She just couldn't relate, and now she can relate to that. So for you to take a look at, hey, here's where I am, and then her overall average on the outside world is 80, and her self-view is 60. So that's where those on the left bar, blue bar, and the red bar. Now, So lots of information, and again, to review any questions that you can ask me, but when we're done, we're just about done here because this is what most people are really hungry to see is this is the list of your 67 talents and where you fall in to these 67 talents. Now, before we get to that, just know that the next page are the 67 talents in alphabetical order. So if you're looking for, oh, where is realistic personal goal setting, that's where that would be. But the page that most people really get into and love is this page. Now, the other thing that people do is they typically look at the lower right-hand side because they want to know what their lowest scores are, okay? And I get it and I understand, but I just want you to be aware of that and then look at the upper left because the upper left is what's going to take you to become more successful and happier and everything else. So look at her self-assessment on the lower. We'll start with the lower because that's where most people are looking. And so wherever you are on the lower, now she's 47, okay, and that's really low on her own self-assessment. She doesn't have a high self-esteem, and it goes back to her background and bringing up and everything. But the beauty is that we have the power right now to be able to increase our self-esteem. So then her role awareness, internal control, enjoyment of the job, gaining commitment, role confidence, sense of self, those are all really low on there. So she now knows, hey, the main thing that she needs to do is increase her self-esteem. And again, I have ways to do that with people. But now what we want to do is we want to look at, hey, what can we leverage? Where are her talents that we can leverage? Now, I would say, generally, I mean, if you are in any 90s, you're like just screaming talented, okay? 80s is really talented. Just extremely, extremely talented. 70s is real good, and very talented. And then when you get down to the 60s, that, hey, not, so much. So as you look at yours, again, we're looking at this example, but when you look at yours and, hey, where are you with that? So here's how I would and did, coach with her, is I looked at, hey, you are really good for like following directions, respect for policies, theoretical problem solving. And so again, this is where we ended up having her switch over to insurance because of where she was with, she was really good. She could follow instructions. So they got instructions on how to fill out the forms. Okay. That real estate is, more creative, if you will. And it's way bigger that, she's got to go through a lot of transactions in order to make the money on just one, transaction in real estate. But she enjoys this now because she's really good. Like she's really organized and she can put all the different paper and all the different people, all that stuff. So she just fit into that very well. And then she understands motivational needs of people. So that's cool. And then long range planning and see all of that stuff kind of, and you can kind of see I'm where, oh yeah, that fits, in with insurance. And that way, she doesn't have to worry and be concerned about these lower right ones because what's replacing that is, hey, she's going to be told point by point, here's what you do, here's what you say, here's the forms they fill out and how to do it, and you need to be organized to do it, and you need to have, look at what their long-term needs are, et cetera. And so it just was a really good fit for her. But now I want you to take yours, and since most of us, are in sales. Just about everybody that took the assessment are in sales, and then many are in, of course, real estate. And so what you want to do is take a look at this. Hey, how do I leverage these top talents here in order to really be able to take off with that and to go to Mars? And so how do I do that? And then again, to be aware of what you aren't very talented in. And I don't want you to focus much on that. I just want you to be aware of them And those are not the things like, so for example, if you're not good at practical thinking, okay, that there's different ways. And in fact, let me share with you that when you're not good at something, you can do what I call DESC. And so D is delegate. So you might want to delegate, like if you're not very organized, you maybe want, like for real estate agents, a coordinator, transaction coordinator, okay, and be able to do that because you want to leverage, again, your talents and you want to leverage your time too. So D is for delegate. E is for eliminate. Maybe just eliminate, stop focusing on whatever you're good at. So let's say that, you don't get along well with, I had an agent that just was so nervous about meeting with people with a home of $500,000 or more. Okay, they just couldn't handle it. Now, those people that can handle it, and typically, if you've been around that, or if you're comfortable and you understand, they put on their pants, just like everybody else, if you will, that, but I had a lady that was really comfortable because of kind of her upbringing was around 200,000, and she could get up to about 300,000, but she just got nervous on that. Well, just eliminate, go focus. We have a leads program, for example, that you could pick your market and the exact, so if you want to do $1 million homes, you can, and you'll get exclusive leads back. It's just amazing. And again, that's on Thursday that I'll share all that good news with how you can, pick your neighborhood and get exclusive leads back and build your business. About 1 out of 5 leads close. It's just, incredible. But get back to that, to be able to, so DESC, delegate, eliminate. S is simplify. And so really think about what are you going to simplify in your work. It's a great time, we've all kind of been at home, if you will. It's a great time to settle in and to have perspective. And even if you're watching this a year from now, it's still a good time for you, and you have plenty of time, if you say so, that to really look at, hey, how can I simplify all of that? And then, so delegate, eliminate, simplify. And then the last one is communicate. And so communicate maybe with me and say, hey, this is where I'm at, and, I'm not very good with this data. How can I delegate or eliminate or simplify? Or that, I'm not very good at whatever it is that I have either the solution or I know where to get the solution, and it's resources that I have, whether it's professionally in real estate or not, or if it's personally that I literally have either I know the answer or have resources for those answers. So those are your talents. And do you have any questions? What did you like best? Paula, what did you like best?
Well,
it's a lot of information. A lot of good information.
and I got to work on my empathy.
Empathy, yeah. So, and that's okay. And again, I'd rather have you focus, to be aware of that empathy and that, hey, I'm going to be more empathetic. But at the same time, I'd like you to think more about what you're good at. So what is your, what did you see that
my highest one was self-improvement. What does that mean?
Well, that means that you're on this call right now because you love to self-improve yourself. And so,
definitely. And
that's why you attracted me, because I help people become their greatest possibility. That's my soul's desire, is to help people become their greatest possibility. So for you to self-improve means you're just getting better and better all the time. And that's true with everybody on, the call or watching this, is that, hey, you want to self-improve. So that is awesome. And so what that means also is to take that and say, hey, this is so great that I'm with, because you're in real estate, that I'm with the guru of real estate. And so I'm going to get self-improvement where my business is going to just explode. And before this call, you were saying you have so many leads right now, and you developed an amazing strategy. And in fact, we'll even share that if you don't mind, at noon today, Central Time, on where that is. So yeah, so and again on that empathy that. All you need to do is ask and you shall receive. So you can just start saying, hey, this helped me to realize that I'm not as empathetic as I would like to. And so I'd like to be more empathetic and more understanding of other people. And one
more loving like God and
pardon
you.
me, what's that?
More loving like God and you.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and it surprises me that one of my lowest ones is personal relationships, because I have tons of friends. That surprises me. But,
yeah. Well,
but maybe I have a lot of friends and not a lot of close friends.
Well, that's what it is based on what you were just sharing on. Hey, I'm not very empathetic, so you have lots of connections,
Right?
And so, but how deep are those? So you can ask for. I seek now. I knock on the door. I asked for deeper, more meaningful relationships. And the other thing that comes to me right now is, I'm channeling with divine intelligence, is the word allowing. And that I allow other people to be who they are. Because this whole idea about allowing other people to be who they are, when you do, it'll give you great relief that you don't have to. So I'll give you an example that many people, and in fact, some of you right now may be offended by this statement that, that the coronavirus it's a virus, which means it's a flu, and we had a really bad flu season, but 99.99% of all the people in the world are just fine. And most of those people that, transition passed away, that they were older, they had other conditions, okay? So they were kind of on their way out, if you will, okay? But I have people that say, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, there's more people that died from the flu and from pneumonia than did the coronavirus. Okay, that's a fact. The CDC just came out with it. I have, if you want to connect with me on that on Facebook, but I'm not upset with those people. In fact, I bless those people that are, fearful of this or think this is the worst thing in the world and they gotta, whatever, wear masks and stay in or what, that's fine. That it's just great. I allow them because I'm not going to have anybody get me upset and ruin my day. Okay. And so I don't put a charge in that. But what I do is I bless them, I love them, and I say to myself, that's what I don't want. What do I want? I want freedom and I want to feel good right now. And all those thoughts and that whole subject doesn't make me feel good, which means I'm not thinking about this the way that God is thinking about this. Because when I feel good, that means that I'm thinking about this as God is. So the feel good is that, hey, the world is better. It helped all of us to have more perspective, to go within more of us. It helped all of us. We wouldn't be having this right now, this session, if we wouldn't have had that. So there's so many blessings. Families are coming together more. They're taking walks outside together. I just talked to my son in New Jersey, and they're able to, the weather is finally nice, and he's able to, because he's not working right now, that he's able to be with his family that he didn't. So if you look for the things that you want, and again, if you can't control it, don't think about it. So it's this whole idea that we are the power. And so for you to just allow people to be who they are, and then you make sure that you believe who you are and how great you are and how you can have, more empathy, et cetera, with that. So is that helpful?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Good. Sandra, what did you like best? Oh, you got to unmute. Let's see. You're still muted. Here, let's see. Maybe I can. I think I can do it on my side.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are. Hi.
Hi. So I like the fact that you can see the differences between looking at yourself and the outside world. And so I just liked how my numbers were actually close together. In your example, your with Maria, hers were like 90 on the outside and then
Yeah.
lower on the inside. So I like that part to see like, okay, how
Yeah.
other people might have an outside view more so than, yourself when you may have more of an inside view. So
Yeah, cool. So you were high in both your outside view and your inside view on your mental focus?
so I was actually it was a 70 and a 68. So they were
Okay. Yeah.
average, but they were close together.
Yeah, and
When,
that's awesome. Yeah, and those are both statistically accurate still, and so that's great. And yeah, and actually the way to know that is that that actually your scores are higher than they actually state. They're right relatively so, but they actually are higher. It's just that when you were taking that, you might have had something where you weren't focused on. You started wandering on thinking like, oh yeah, like. Poisoning the well water, that was one of them, where it's poisoning the city's water, right? It's like, what does this have to do with anything? That that point, and I don't want to give for those that haven't taken, I don't want to give away, on how this goes, but but that could take you and have you start thinking about like, as an example, oh, it's kind of like the coronavirus is poisoning the world, whatever, and you could have floated off into that area versus the focus. But yeah, that's great that you have the same mental focus on both your inside world and your outside world. And so, that had to do with, that's one of the reasons why you're on here right now, is because, you are, you want to improve your, get even better on your inside world. And most people are thinking, oh, I just want to manipulate the outside world, and you're looking at, hey, I know it all begins with me. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great, super. And do either one of you have any questions about it?
Not really. I mean, it's a lot of information to kind of like absorb.
Yeah. And just take it easy again, if anything that you have a real good view on, oh, here's how it is. And I guess, we talked with uh, Paula on her and what she wants to focus in on. That Sandra, that when you look at something on yours, that what's the one aha where you say, hey, if I do even better, and it doesn't have to be a low one by any means, but what kind of was something that you want to leverage to really help you?
Intuitive decision making.
Oh, I love
That was
that.
something that, yeah, I mean, I know I can knowing myself that I struggle in, but just the fact that this report points it out.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's helpful to, hey, I kind of thought that, but now I see that, it's kind of been black and white, if you will. And then again, the beauty is all these we can raise. And by you hanging around me, Sandra, like these 3 meetings each week, and at least this week to see if you like that, and then from there you can decide if you want to play more together. But you'll see that I'm going to help you really enhance your intuition. And today, I'm going to take you down into your kingdom at the mastermind meeting. I'll take you down into your the kingdom within, and then we'll also be able to create more abundance in our lives. And so, hang on to your seats. We're going to have fun. Okay, well, that sounds great, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being on this. If you have any questions, you know, it's drhank at drhank.biz or 214-753-7204. If you haven't taken your assessment, this is typically a $300 assessment that I've done thousands with Fortune 100 companies around the world, that you get to have it for free. I pay for it for you to help you become your greatest possibility. So just ask me for the information on how to get it, and you can do it for your loved ones too, you know, whoever, whatever, that I'm here to help everybody, not just you and all your loved ones, and who knows, maybe your prospects, clients, whatever. So this is Dr. Hank. I thank you so much for joining us today, and know that everything is coming your way. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.